What really is economics? Well, according to David McWilliams, one of my favorite economists, economics is just people going about their everyday lives. Now, McWilliams is an economist from Ireland, which hasn't used the pound for a long time. And I forgive the quality of this, it's been folded up in my wallet for 30 years. But McWilliams has a different approach to everything. He had a series called Punk Economics for a while. And as an Irishman, he's seen a lot of ups and downs. But primarily, what drove the great rise of Ireland has been the development of personal skill. And he understands that. And he also understands that uh, economics is primarily about connection, people to people, one way or the other. Perhaps you're just getting what you need to get by on a daily basis, and you give somebody a note and you say, "Have a good day." Or perhaps you have a deeper personal connection where you spend some time together over a few pints, which is probably where this came from in the first place. Either way, economics is primarily about connecting. But then again, so is technology. Technology is about connecting new facts together, processes together, or perspectives. The over underlying value of an economy comes down to what? The skill of all of its people, which is to say, it's techne, it's technology. But on a daily basis, it really is nothing more than connection. So, what connection do we have to our understanding of economics as a thing? Well, let's look at the market for economics. Let's think of it that way. I mean, we have all of your classic market failures. We have externalities that influence how economics is used. We have public good, which is defined by economics. But we also have really big players that outweigh the individual people that might need economics. We also have asymmetry of information. I mean, the economist tells you something, you have to decide whether or not you believe it. How does all of this work? I mean, it sounds like we have all of the same classic market failures that you might have for healthcare. Should we socialize economics? Indeed, perhaps we should. And that's where McWilliams is coming from. You see, economics is purchased by people at the very top, people in financial institutions, in governments, at the Federal Reserve, things like that. And so we tend to talk about macro issues, big issues, the macroeconomics of everything. But an economy is made up of people going about their daily lives, making connections. How does that come together? That's the microeconomics. Well, another favorite economist, Graciela Cikolnicki, will tell you that there really isn't any macroeconomics, that it's all individual actions built up by something we could call game theory or whatever, and that markets do indeed have to be created. People are not necessarily rational, but they do play by the rules, cheating when they can. It's a different view of economics that needs to be, well, it is more accessible and more available. And unfortunately, I don't have any Argentine pesos from Chiklinski's native Argentina, but I do have McWilliams Irish pound. You see, it's not about this. Emphasizing the money is just a way of formalizing economics. Now, when I say that it's nothing more than sociology with a way of keeping score, that's going to rattle even the economists I like. But economics has tried very hard to go more and more towards mathematics. Why? Well, the dismal science wants to be a little less dismal and more of a science. That's what they are paid for. That's the incentive that they have to be the ones who provide the mathematical answers. But the free people of a democratically organized society need to have language to understand things. And when you look at any political theory that happens, well, it seems to start at the top, doesn't it? Because That's where our economics comes from. That's where our understanding of things comes from at the top. Even though we have all of these systems, economies and political systems that are built from the bottom up. That is what needs to change more than anything. Now, I'm just giving you my perspective in all this. I am far from an authority, but I'm doing this because I know for a fact that many of the people who are working at that level understand that things have been fundamentally breaking for a while. This current crisis only exacerbates that, only brings it into sharp relief. And most of them, even though it's their job to know exactly what's going on, if you get a few beers in them, they'll admit that they don't really know what they should be knowing. That's where perspective like McWilliams comes in. It's not about this, it's about people and how things are connected. Technology is about a different kind of connection, and economy is about a connection between people. But the relationship between people and how they develop those technologies or how they use those technologies becomes how an economy grows. Technology itself has caused our economy to expand in ways that we could never imagine, and we are connected in ways that we could never imagine before. That's part of how a virus could spread around the world so quickly. Yes, the connection that brings us all of these wonderful things, all of these wonderful ideas, all of this great joy in our life also brings us illness. It's always a double-edged sword, and it comes down to how we manage it. How we manage it depends on our politics, how our political systems function, which depend on how we talk about it, which depends on our language. Currently, we like to talk about everything at the very top, the one big solution for everything. I want us to talk at the bottom. Just because I have a YouTube channel doesn't mean I am anything like an authority. I'm simply trying to stimulate a discussion, a new way of looking at things. And I hope that you have a different perspective, especially as you sit down and think through your experience in lockdown or however you've been dealing with this current crisis. Because the after is going to be very different than the before. Things are changing. Attitudes are changing. Connection between people has been broken. Connection between elements of the economy have been broken. They need to be put back together. It's not that I'm against all of the math or whatever. I used to have a 10 Deutschmark note with Carl Friedrich Gauss on it. I think I exchanged it in for a bunch of euros. It was a mistake. I wonder if the people of Germany think that they made a mistake doing that exchange. I wonder if the people of Ireland think they made a mistake making their exchange for the euro. I hope not. I hope we're moving forward. But in order to keep moving forward, we have to have the language that allows all of us to participate, despite the fact that the market for economics itself is horribly broken and has all of the classic market failures. It is about connection, people to people, people to ideas. How are you connected? How are your connections holding up through everything that is happening? That's what I want to talk about.